Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of the Case Review podcast. Today's case is one of Zambia's most historically charged and legally significant decisions, the Shamwana case, the famous Shamwana case. Shamwana and seven others versus the people. And this case happened in the 1980s. Disclaimer: before you even listen to this podcast, I advise you to go and read the full case. This is just a case review, and also don't take this as legal advice. So this episode will be valuable to students who are taking criminal law, criminal procedure, evidence, legal process, constitutional law, and even international human rights law. We'll unpack the facts, the issues, the decision, and more importantly, what this case says about justice, the rule of law, and human rights in African young democracies, because most countries are actually very young with democracy. So let's go to the background of the case. This case happened in the 1980s. So there were 8 men, right, including Edward Shamwana and Valentine Musakanya. They were accused of plotting to overthrow the government, and the charge they were given was treason. So by then, under Section 43 of the Penal Code, Cap 87 of the laws of Zambia, treason included any act intended to overthrow or harm the lawful government of Zambia. So it was one of the very serious offenses which was punishable by death or by life imprisonment. The prosecution alleged that the accused men met secretly, recruited soldiers, and planned to seize power. The trial was long, emotional, and it was politically sensitive at the time. Perhaps one of the most watched trials in Zambia and post-independence history. No wonder we still talk about it, and we still use it as for our cases. So the case rested on several key legal instruments: the Penal Code, which defined the treason and its elements; criminal procedure, which governed how criminal charges were framed; the Evidence Act, which set out rules for admitting confessions, documents, and testimonies; the Constitution, which guaranteed fair trial, though less explicit than the current Constitution; the Judges' Rules, or the English Common Rules, which the police used when recording confessions. It wasn't binding law, but it was persuasive. So what were the key issues in this case? Issue number 1, duplicity of the charge. The defense claimed that the treason charge was bad for duplicity because it listed multiple overt acts in one count. The Supreme Court clarified that duplicity arises only if 2 separate offenses are alleged in one count, not multiple acts leading to one offense. So the treason count was valid. Issue 2 was amendment of the indictment. During the trial, the judge amended the overt act. The defense objected. The Supreme Court referred to Section 272 of the Criminal Procedure Code, which allows such amendments if they correct a misdescription and cause no justice. And then the issue 3 was confession evidence. Several accused persons had made statements to the police. The defense said that these violated the judge's rules and should therefore be excluded. But the court held the key test is voluntariness, not perfect compliance with the judge's rules. So a breach of the rules doesn't automatically make a confession inadmissible, as long as the accused spoke freely. This principle comes straight from the English law precedents, such as Ara versus Sang, which was a 1980 case, an English case, and Ara versus Bass, a 1953 English case, and aligns with the Zambian Evidence Act, Section 24, which requires voluntariness for confessions to be admissible. Then issue 4 was fair trial and bias. So the defense argued that pre-trial publicity and Attorney General's involvement created bias. The Supreme Court disagreed, holding that the trial remained fair and impartial. It's noted that mere publicity does not equal prejudice unless it can be shown that it influenced the judge. So this ties directly to Article 10 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the UDHR, and Article 14 of the International Covenant on Civil Political Rights, ICCPR, both guaranteeing fair and impartial hearings. Then issue 5 was judicial notice. The judge had referred to another case, record without formal proof. Was that proper? So the court said yes. Under Section 59 of the Evidence Act, a court may take a judicial notice of official records after verifying their accuracy. Then the court's decision. Now let's go to the court's decision. So the Supreme Court dismissed the appeal and have upheld the convictions. So the court reasoned that the treason count was legally sound. The amendments under the Criminal Procedure Code were proper. The confessions were voluntary and admissible. No bias or unfairness was proven. Judicial notice was properly exercised. So this ruling reaffirmed that justice must be based on substance, not mere technicalities. So how does it impact Zambian and English laws, or what was the impact on Zambian and English laws? So the Shamwana decision became a cornerstone in Zambian criminal law. It reinforced several enduring doctrines. From English law to Zambian law, so Zambia inherited the judge's rules and the principles of voluntariness, right, from English common law. This case localized those rules, making them part of the Zambian jurisprudence, but on Zambian terms. The influence on criminal procedure was the judgment confirmed that Zambian courts may amend charges and still preserve fairness, provided no prejudice occurs. They influenced later cases like Musonda versus the People of 1988 and Mulemba versus the People of 1987. So the Constitution of Fair Trial jurisprudence. Though the Constitution then lacked a detailed Bill of Rights like the 1991 and 2016 versions, Shamwana inspired the development of judicial fairness, later enshrined under Article 18 of the current Constitution. And the international resonance, so like in international law, the case reflected global principles under the ICCPR Article 14, African Charter on Human and People's Rights, Article 7, and the Commonwealth Latimer House principles, all promoting impartiality and voluntariness in criminal trials. The English law reflection, the decision affirmed that while Zambia borrows from English law, it is not bound by it. So we borrow from English laws, but we're not bound by it, by those English laws. The Supreme Court asserted independence by applying common law principles with local context, a maturing of Zambian jurisprudence. So what lessons can we get, or like how do we apply them in our everyday courses that we take? So for criminal law, understand what constitutes treason and the seriousness of overt acts against the state. For evidence, remember voluntariness determines admissibility of confessions, not strict adherence to procedure. For legal process, the court's duty is to ensure justice, not to follow rules mechanically. For constitutional law, even before modern constitutional rights were explicit, Zambian courts recognize fairness as a fundamental value. For international law, the case harmonizes national criminal justice with global human rights standards. And yeah, this case applies in almost all the cases that we take as law students. So in the end, Shamwana and 7 others versus the People wasn't just about 8 men accused of treason. It was about a young nation by then, which was Zambia, balancing state security with individual rights. It remains a testament to evolution of Zambian justice, where law, though inherited, becomes uniquely ours. This was the case review. If you enjoyed this, subscribe and share with people who are reviewing this case. So go and read the full case and then comment what you also learned from the case. So this is just a summary of what I read, and I've just summarized it. So you can also like comment your take on the case and what you also learned, so that others may also learn from you. If you found it helpful, subscribe and share and like. to push the video to a good algorithm. And see you in another case review. Don't forget to subscribe. Thank you very much.